For the Ready to Assemble pathway, we have 4 different trackers for you to choose from. Each of these trackers has a bit of customization that you're able to do, or you could, based on some inspiration from the tracker, design your own completely. We'll begin with the Learning Targets Progress Tracker. In this tracker, teachers and librarians would indicate their learning targets for a given unit. And for younger learners, you may consider substituting the learning targets with I can statements. You're able to add additional columns for additional learning targets or delete them if you have fewer targets. You can also customize this progress tracker by adding specific dates or days of the week. As students interact with a learning target, they would click on the drop-down menu to indicate their level. For example, for learning target 1, maybe a student is working on it. And learning target 2, maybe they've actually mastered it. As students interact more and more with these different learning targets, they can update their status. And there might even be a time where they have worked and they realize that maybe they need a little extra help. So they can make that designation, and that would also be a reflection to you that they might need a little bit of one-on-one support. So that is the Learning Targets Progress Tracker. Another progress tracker that we've created is just a unit activity tracker. And so you would begin by listing all of the different activities that a student might engage in during a specific unit study. So you'd list the name of the activity here and the type here. So for example, the Human Body Systems Q&A would be given to students via a Zoom. Then through the status column, students can indicate where they are as far as the status goes. Maybe they've started it or maybe it's complete. If it's a graded activity, they can indicate their grade here. And you may even consider adding a remastery activity in this final column so that if a student doesn't score sufficiently here with the grade, then they have a backup activity that they can engage in to really help them learn that concept before moving on. A blank template is here on the second tab, so you can add and customize at your discretion. Our third type of progress tracker is an assignment tracker. And this is sort of a version of the last tracker we looked at. But in this case, students are just recording the different tasks or assignments that they have to do. You can record them for them, or you can actually ask them to update their tracker based on what information you've provided in Canvas. They'd indicate the date and then also the status. And as they make their designation here, they'll notice that the color changes to indicate their level of engagement with that activity. If you choose to add the learning statement or standard here, that could be very helpful for students, because then as they're looking at their grade and their mastery, they'll know which standards they may need additional support with. As students enter their grades, this column changes based on the level of mastery. So for example, if a student scored a 50, that would change to this color. And so they could notice that anything below a 70 is represented by one color, anything in that 70 to 79 range by another. And then if they gain proficiency with that standard, for example, maybe they've scored an 82, then it becomes another color. So 80 to 100 is represented here. If they have gained mastery, they can click a little checkbox here so they know that they've mastered that standard. And then just a quick assignment reflection to indicate how they felt about the work that they did on that assignment. So this is represented by emoji. So maybe the student did well and they have a quick opportunity to reflect. If they want to engage in some in-depth reflection on that assignment, then they have this area to the far right as well. So on this assignment tracker, you have a design your own where you can copy and paste specific columns that you may want to use into this one, or completely design whatever you'd like. Our final progress tracker is an attendance and average progress tracker. And in this one, you'll customize by adding the dates. And students, as they encounter a day of the week, they would just click on this drop-down menu to indicate whether they were present or absent. And we've added a column here for synchronous learning. So if you happen to have synchronous learning that day, the student can indicate that he or she was present, absent, or it didn't apply because maybe there wasn't a synchronous event for your class on that date. Additionally, at the end of the week, students are prompted to enter their average in your class so far. And that way that they can see maybe some correlations between stellar attendance and good grades as well. There's also additional tabs at the bottom that will allow you to customize trackers. For example, this one has the entire second semester listed on one tab, and then this one might be what you would like to use if you want to separate by 6 weeks grading periods. Of course, you're also welcome to design your own tracker for your students. We hope that you've found one idea or tracker that you would like to implement with your students.